all you shining stars, welcome to my channel Shining Star Soup. In today's What's the Soup Saturday, I kind of froze there for a moment. In today's What's the Soup Saturday, I'm going to go over makeup tips from someone who's not a beauty guru. Now, you may be a beginner, you may be just dipping in your toes, you may be someone who's not a professional makeup artist, or even someone that's maybe not a beginner or new to makeup and skincare kind of thing. But I thought it would be a fun idea to, I'm not going to actually do a look today. I got a little bit of shine going on, and I just thought it'd be fun to kind of give a rundown of things you may or may not have already known, or maybe you'll have some new tips for yourself that are in this video. But to sum it up, I mean, makeup is really a personal thing. Some people wear makeup every day, some people wear makeup once in a while, or try to do their makeup before filming a YouTube video. And most of the time it's like, well, what's good? You know, what do I need? What don't I need? What steps can I skip? What should I look for when it comes to eyeshadow or powder? And again, it really comes down to personal preference. It's like, do you prefer a dewy finish or a matte finish like I do, or what's your skin type, what's your undertone kind of thing. And in this video, I don't know how long it's going to end up being, but I am going to break it down and just kind of give my own tips. Again, little disclaimer, I'm not a beauty guru, I'm not a professional. I have really bad makeup looks sometimes where I will go back and review a video and think, what was I thinking? Did I realize how bad my makeup looked? But still, you know, makeup is part of our lives, especially rather you're a man or you're a woman or anything. It's just self-expression is what it comes down to. But you still need to kind of know, tips and tricks are handy. One thing I got to note is that when it comes to skin tone, you're either fair, light, a darker skin tone. But one thing I do have to note is how important undertones are. For me, a couple tricks are, like, I'm fair-skinned. I have reddish pinkish undertone, so I have a cool undertone. And it really kind of frustrates me because there are some foundations, especially drugstore foundations, where you have no idea what the undertone is. I do have a video in my series going over some drugstore foundations that I do recommend in figuring out what's the difference between fair ivory or porcelain or regular ivory, but it is geared towards more lighter skin tones, just because I'm a lighter skin tone, I am fair, so I was more comfortable doing a video based on my own skin tone. Now, with that said, you might be wondering, how do you start? Where do you even start? And the thing is, you want to start with a clean face. That's the number one. Wash your face. You can use a toner. Use toner first. I have products that I wanted to show, and I don't actually have my toner on me. And of course, you do want a mirror because you want to see what you're doing. I do my makeup sometimes at my desk if I'm working, so I can kind of go back and forth. There are a lot of things I do when I'm working that I wouldn't get away with if I didn't work from home. Just throwing that out there. And another essential product, makeup wipes. These makeup wipes, I do recommend Kirkland's Signature, which is a Costco brand. You get like 300 of them for, I think it's under 20 bucks. I think maybe even $15 to $18. Worth it, 100%. Go for Kirkland's Signature. They work well, and you get a lot, and it's quantity and quality for these makeup wipes. Now, when I start my makeup, I don't always use toner. It all depends on if I remember. that I need to tone my face. It's not a huge deal breaker for me. But I always start off with my eyes first. And I do have to say, eye primer is essential. Eye primer is going to help your look last, your eye look last. So you want to start off with a eyeshadow primer. I have a couple different ones, but I actually went out and purchased Too Faced Shadow Insurance eyeshadow primer. Smashbox is a really good one. I have a Viseart that I got from a BoxyCharm, but my favorite is Smashbox eyeshadow primer. But again, that's going to be your first step. Now, I always start in the crease, and when I'm doing my crease, I always use, you can use a nude shade, which is typically known as a transition shade. But it's hard, and I'm just going to use my Jawbreaker palette as an example. I don't actually go for nude shades in my crease a lot. Very, very rarely do I go for it. But you kind of want a cohesive look when it comes to what's in your crease line. And the thing is, when it comes to trying to find a transition shade, you use a shade that's lighter. Now, in the Jawbreaker palette, you do have this shade called Good Morning. But the problem is, when you use Good Morning and you're fair skin like me, it doesn't show up. It really doesn't, because it's so close to my own skin tone. I might as well just be putting extra primer on my eyelids. So usually I'll look at a palette and I'll think, okay, visualize what kind of look I'm going for, what colors will look good together. And for this example, I'm just going to use a peacock look that I kind of created with inspiration from Mama Ru. So RuPaul, she had really gorgeous eyes on one of the episodes where it was like kind of blue ombre and then yellow right at the inner corners of the eyes. So I stuck to using Brain Freeze in my crease, which is that blue right there, and I kind of built it up. So that was going to be the look again, not be a guru, it's just how I do things, just giving tips and tricks. And I find that when it comes to starting the eye look, I've gone and invested, I guess, in certain brushes, right? Because brushes and tools are expensive as well. And you can get synthetic hair brushes, you can get natural hair brushes, and I wanted to try natural hair. But for me, the brush that I use that really kind of works for me when it comes to that crease line, I do have a Sigma E33, which is a detailed, that's my cat saying hello, detailed diffuser crease brush is what I use. I dip the color in, like I'm not doing a look like I mentioned, I'm just kind of, so these are actually going to remain clean. And I just kind of go from front and I build it up. And I try to make it equal. Now sometimes you want that space. Okay, when you're creating an eye look, you want to keep some space in here, because then you can add lighter eyeshadow. You can add, I always save like the white shade right here, or even highlighter. Looks really good, in my opinion, right along the brow line. Now, sometimes when you're using this brush, the nice thing is it does, I don't know if I have hooded eyes. I don't know what kind of eye shape I have. I'm going to say almond, but rather I have hooded eyes. I don't know, maybe I do, maybe I don't. If you know, feel free to leave me a comment down below and be like, Soup, you have hooded eyes, or Soup, you don't have hooded eyes. Get over yourself. Anyway, a nice crease brush like this one, the Sigma one, will allow it to to give you that space, right? So you're lining it right along the crease, and then you're going to be able to have that space free there. Now, and this one diffuses, so kind of, it's really important to not have a solid line right in the middle of your eye. because that can happen as well. So I really do recommend this brush. It's not that expensive either. I think I bought it for like 20 bucks at the Bay. Maybe, I don't exactly remember. But either way, if you do go over, you do go high, you can always go back and go in with concealer and just kind of clean up that look. So that's my first tip. The one thing about eyeshadow palettes is that you have matte finishes, shimmer finishes, what else is there? Glitter finishes, satin finishes. Like, there are so many different finishes. It's hard to really say pressed powders compared to not pressed powders. And there was a little trick I learned when it comes to the Jawbreaker palette, is that it is pressed powder. So when I was creating a look, I realized pressed powder means press your brush to get a unified look. It works a lot better. I've been doing my makeup for at least a year or so, and that was an interesting venture. So yeah, I do recommend a crease brush for that, and just going in with a light color when it comes to that. So you got your crease, you know, you got that nice little line, and you want to work for that. Now, I don't use concealer for what it's originally marketed towards, and that is, you know, you always see people use your under eyes or use whatever. I use it to define my makeup looks. And I have really wanted to try a lighter concealer. So like really as light as I can get it, just so it's going to make your makeup more pronounced. There was a YouTube person I was watching, and I don't remember who it was, but she suggested that if you're going to do your use concealer to create your cut creases or to create a more defined look, mattes or shimmers tend to stick better or adhere better to the concealer. So it might, when you do matte, it kind of, using a matte shade doesn't look as defined, and it gets kind of sticky, I've noticed. But I managed to find on Sephora Kat Von D Whiteout. The only other white one I found was on Beautylish, which was Jeffree Star. Has a white concealer. White concealers are actually very hard to find. Again, only Kat Von D. Yeah, Kat Von D, KVD, had a white concealer on the entire Canadian Sephora website. So again, try to use the concealer, but try to use a shimmer eyeshadow rather than a matte. You can still make a matte work, it's just not going to, it might not help with the kind of look you're wanting to create. But concealer to me is essential, because what I do is the inner corners especially, I will put it on, I'll let it dry, and then depending on what kind of look you want, then you can continue with your mattes. And a really pretty look in my opinion is having dark at the corners and dark at the outer corners and lighter at the inner corners is another, what I think is a decent look. Now you can use a lot of different brushes, and I do have a lot. I do think that the synthetic hairs actually work better than the natural hair. But for instance, I got a Worker Pro. I wasn't actually as impressed with this one as I thought I would be, but using this, just especially, it's good for Jeffree Star fresh powders. I have a Wayne Goss brush for, this one is the number 19, which really actually helps with the outer corners a lot more. And I have another MAC brush with his MAC 234 split hair brush. When I've dirtied my Sigma brush, and I use this one on the outer corners, it has two sides. It has a natural hair side and a synthetic hair side. And I use a pencil brush on the corner of my eyes to add some sparkle. It's nice to have that preciseness. And this is one of my favorite brushes. This is the MAC 234 39S brush, and this is a flat brush. So this brush is actually good. I'll put the concealer on the brush and I will dab it lightly. And this one, because of the flat edge, I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, because of the flat edge, that is going to give you a more crisp line when doing your concealer to create your more defined eye looks. And last but not least, my ultimate favorite brush of all time, and I never thought I would actually use this brush as much as I do, but the MAC 228S. This one is really thin brushes, but I don't use eyeliner anymore. I just use my eyeshadow to line my eyes. And this one, if you set it right on the edge of the eyelid, it does it beautifully. And it just looks like regular eyeliner. I tend not to do my under eyes depending on the look I'm going for, because doing your under eyes can make your eyes look smaller, not bigger. So if you decide to just line your upper eye, which I do recommend, that eyelid liner, I avoided it for so long until I got this brush, just because I could never get that line I was looking for. It would end up just turning into all on my eyelid. But once I discovered this brush and started using it, it's like my must-have in my tools, in my makeup tools, is this one. So I highly recommend a brush like this. All right, so and I do my eyebrows, and the eyebrows, after I got my eyeshadow look completed, I do use Gimme Brow or any kind of eyebrow pencil. And I usually, like, my favorite one is Cool Blonde, but this one is Warm Blonde. Gimme Brow kind of doesn't have many shades available, but I do recommend this. I don't do a lot of work on my eyebrows. I just use Gimme Brow to kind of define the look. Again, makeup wipes are going to be your friends, because it's going to, before you do anything else, like you put on any skincare, this is going to clean up any fallout which you're inevitably going to have. So you always want to keep your wipes right next to you. Again, Kirkland signature. I definitely want to use that. Alright, so I do use under eye cream, and what I do is my eye look is completed. So I do Dr. Brandt Retinol Eye Cream underneath my eye cream first. Let that dry. And then I will follow that through with a serum, because serum is supposed to go before moisturizer. And I have a lot of different serums. This one is Kalai, or however you say that. Again, do the serum, but I avoid that eye just to give it the eye look, the under eye cream, just to give it a chance to absorb, and then I do my serum around, and then I do my moisturizer. And then this is just I think I got this in a Look Fantastic one, Nail Bay. Any moisturizer will do. And then after the moisturizer, of course, comes the primer. Now you might be asking yourself, well, maybe I don't want to spend all that money. Maybe I don't want to go through all those steps. What would I recommend? At least make sure you have moisturizer. That's the one thing. Get yourself a moisturizer. If you want to skip the serum, you want to skip the under eye, you want to skip even the primer, which you can skip primer depending on the foundation. If you have a lower quality foundation, you probably are going to need the primer just to help it perform. But definitely moisturizer. So make sure you're washing your face and moisturizer. At the very least, make sure you have moisturizer. Alright, so you got your primer, you got your moisturizer, your cream. If your eye look is all done, again, do your eye look first, because you will more likely have fallout, and then you're wasting all that moisturizing you got on your skin by doing your moisturizing first. Do your eye look first, my number one tip. We're going to move to foundation. Now, one of my favorite foundations is, the thing is, when you're shopping for a foundation, especially expensive foundation, you cannot really trust the swatches that you're going to see online or in the pictures. And I kind of struggled with my foundation, finding the proper undertone. I use Estee Lauder Double Wear Stain Place Makeup. And I've had a lot of trial and error with this. This is Bone. This is 1C1 bone, which is a cool undertone. And in the bottle, it looks like it might be too dark for me. But when you actually get down on your face and on your skin, then you can notice, okay, it's a good shade. It's a perfect shade for me. And the thing is with foundation and making sure you know the undertones, you can always do your own your own research online. I found a way for me that works the best for applying foundation. I've tried on the back of my hand. I've tried pouring it directly on the brush, and I do use IT Cosmetics. This is a $50 brush. This is not a cheap brush, but it's flat. It's flat surface, and it is a buffing brush, which I find works really well, especially with the Estee Lauder. I haven't tried it with any other foundations yet, but it's been working well with the Estee Lauder. So like I was saying, I tried on the back of my hand. I tried pouring it directly on the brush. What I found worked best was putting this foundation directly on my fingers, going swipe, 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 and don't forget the neck. Because if you forget the neck, you're going to look like a floating head. So you always want to get your neck together. So putting that on there, and then the brush, and then for this one, it's all circles. So it's like wax on, wax off. And this brush has really high ratings, and I was disappointed with it at first because I was having a lot of struggle learning how to use it. Again, with my hands or dipping the foundation directly onto the brush bristles were not working for me, but using the finger technique and then just buffing everything out, this is going to help prevent pilling. So pilling's like when I believe it's when your skin peels or you get a bunch of little spots that are concentrated and it doesn't look right. This is going to buff it out. This is going to stop the clumpiness. What was the word I'm looking for? Not pilling, but not patchiness. I can't think of the word right now. But this will make your skin look flawless and unified. And especially using the technique. So this one works really well. So after you got the foundation on, it's going to be time to do your blush, your highlighter, your contour. But you want your foundation to dry, because if you put I don't contour. I rarely contour. Very rarely will I contour. Only if I'm filming like a video or something, then I'll jump on the contour. But the thing is, you have to wait for your foundation to dry, or else that highlighter is just going to stick rather than highlighting. Highlighting, you gotta remember the high points of your face. So this is how I do my highlighter. I do have I don't know how to pronounce that, one of these brushes. It's a highlighting, and I like brushes that have multiple uses rather than just powder or just highlighter or just blush. Alright, so for the highlighter, what I personally do is I go above my brows. I go right along, I think this is called the bridge of your nose. Swipe down to the tip of the nose, underneath the chin, and then really high up, almost close to my eye. So I go like this for my highlighter. Usually just right towards the pupil. You usually don't want to go like that. You just want to go towards the middle of the pupil. Same on this side, but you want to get that high up. Again, it's a highlight, so you want to get the highlights. High, high, high. And I don't know why I do it on my chin, but it seems to kind of focus the makeup look. Like it focuses your eyes down here rather than looking at your double chin. So, and then for the blush, I use the highlighter on my cheek as a guide. I never go like this. Maybe I should start doing it. Maybe that would help me with my blush. I struggle with blush. I really do. Sometimes I use too much. Sometimes I do use too little. When you think of blush, people are like, oh, just put it on the apples of your cheeks like this. There, you're done. That's not what I do. I find I have a better look if I go right underneath my highlighter. And using my highlighter as a guide, that's why I put my highlighter on first. And then I just go there, and I usually stop right where my pupil is. And then I might try to add, but I try to make it darker here, more thicker here, and then go down. So kind of diffusing it all the way down. That's what I do. Everybody has their personal preference for the blush, and I only put blush there. But if I were to start sucking my cheeks, then that might help guide it a bit. So you have your blush, you have your highlighter done. If you have contour, I'm not good at contour. I'll just throw that out there now. But for contour, really, I mean, close to your forehead, different spots, maybe right underneath the blush, but don't quote me. I don't contour that much under the chin. It's what I've seen people do, but mostly this area. Again, I can't tell you about contouring because I'm not a contourist. And but you're supposed to use a darker color, obviously, to create shadows. Highlighter, you're creating light. Contour, you're creating shadows to kind of define that look on your face. Again, hashtag notabeautyguru. So after I got my foundation, my highlighter, my primer, then I use powder brush for powder. And I love and recommend Fenty Beauty Lavender. Is really good. I have a lot left. It brightens. It brightens up the skin. So I recommend it. Or I use Too Faced Peach Perfect to have more of a matte finish, and I really love it. It's expensive. It's $44, but that's the one that you get full size. The most bang for your buck is the is Fenty Beauty. Oh, and if you're wondering what I like highlighter and contour palettes. This is a Tarte one. It's got everything that you need right there. The blush, different shades of brush, what you can use for contour. That's mostly the way to go. And then sometimes, but not all the time, I will use a setting mist, even on top of the powder. Alright, so I'm going to wrap up this video. So what I recommend is at least moisturizer. Figure out what your skin tone is. Do your eyes first. And brushes, whether they're synthetic or hair, they seem to have the same effect. Oh, and I almost forgot, for the eyes, of course, you want your mascara. So essential products for me are moisturizer, mascara, eyeshadow primer is pretty much an essential. A good couple of eyeshadow brushes, powder brush, face brush. Obviously, you're going to need eyeshadow and foundation in your undertone, and concealer if you are into doing more defined eye looks. So I've been going on for almost a half hour, and I'm going to wrap up this What's the Soup Saturday. Again, disclaimer, not be a guru. It's just my tips and tricks and my advice. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any further questions or comments, leave them down below, and we'll see you hopefully next Saturday when I figure out what else to do. Alright guys, have a good Shining Star day, and keep being shining stars even if I'm not around all the time to remind you.